No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey, gardeners. Hope you're all having a great week this week out in your gardens. I'm out here just checking out our container peach tree, and it is loaded with fruit this year. Looks like it might be a really good year for peaches, that's for sure. Also, one other thing too I gotta show you. Let's go look at the back patio real quick. Yep, that's pears. Still holding on to our pear tree here that I moved to the back patio. And it's holding on to about 10 fruit. And I've never had fruit that big so far. So we might just get pears for the first time off of our pear tree this year. I'm super, super excited about that. All right, everybody, we got some great guests for you today. A really great show. All right, let's get growing. All my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts. Welcome to Let's Get Growing show right here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. We've got a fantastic show for you today. We've got coming up a little bit later here for our featured conversation, Jeremy Troski from Dirty Punk Gardening joining with us here just a little bit later on the show. And returning to the show, we've got Yaz from MCR Urban Gardener and join with us on our Are You Following Me segment here in just a little bit here on the show. Like I said, we got some great guests, great conversation coming up here in just a little bit here. But thank you all so much for joining with us here. And if you are with us live right now, definitely, you know the deal. Let's hit those thumbs up real quick. Click that like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you can be notified of all the upcoming shows that we've got. We've got lots and lots of great shows still coming up throughout the whole gardening season. Lots and lots more conversations right here. Definitely you want to share with all your garden friends and garden groups. Let everybody know about the Let's Get Growing show and all of our great conversations. Like I said, we've got lots and lots of great shows coming up for you every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and also 7 p.m. BST, British Summer Time. I believe I got that right. But yes, thank you all so much for being here, and a huge shout out to all of you who are watching us on our replay. Thank you so much for taking your time to check out our conversations here on the Let's Get Growing show. Really, really appreciate all of you who come and check out all of what we've got growing on here. We've got lots and lots of great gardening conversations every weekend, like I said. So thank you for joining with us. Definitely get down into the comment section below. Let me know if you got any questions, comments, any thoughts or ideas, suggestions for guests that you'd like to see on the show. I'm always up for suggestions. I'd like to, invite some folks onto the show that you'd like to see or you'd like to hear from as well too. So always get into the comments or all that and let me know if you have any of those sort of suggestions, or if you just want to say hi. I always love hearing from all of you. So definitely get into the comment section below. Let me know you're here. Let me know what you've got growing on. And if you're here with us live, definitely jump into the chat. Let us know you're here. Let us know what you got growing on as well too. And you have any questions, definitely put those in big, bold, capital letters. And I love to see all of your questions, especially when we've got our guests on with us later on. We love to make sure that we're getting to ask them some questions you might have as well, too, because you're part of this conversation. That's what this whole live stream's about. This is all about us getting together, hanging out, and having a conversation together. And these guests are your guests as well, too. So if you have any questions, definitely drop those into our chat and put those in big, bold, capital letters. And I'll definitely try to mark them and make sure that we get them put into our conversation. So thank you so much for doing that as well, too. And follow all the links down below in the description, because we got links to our guests. We love to make sure we're showing support to all of those who are spending their time coming and hanging out with all of us to have this fun weekend gardening conversation. So let's make sure that we're going over to their social media or their channels and checking out maybe one of their recent posts or videos or something and dropping them a comment. Let them know that you saw them on the Let's Get Growing show, and just go show them some support right here from us here at the Let's Get Growing show, and all of you as well too. So thank you so much for all of you who do that. I really appreciate you all taking that little bit of extra time to show support to those who are taking their time, like I said, to hang out with us here on the weekend and just have a fun, awesome gardening conversation. So definitely show that sort of support as well too. So thank you all so much for being here. I hope you, like I said, I hope you're all having a great week out in your garden this week. As you can see, I've if you've been watching my more recent video I just put out yesterday, I know I told you all last week, and this is something I talked about in my first garden journal too, though, is I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself to really hit some of these video deadlines is all, because we've got a lot of deadlines and things to make sure the show's going and all of that. This is live, this is, you know, all that sort of stuff. So we're really doing that, but I do have a lot growing on out in the garden. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting some good video of it so that we can share with all of you. And I did finally get that garden journal released out yesterday. And we were talking about tomatoes. And, you know, of course, I've been talking about that the last couple of weeks. We mentioned this whole scenario last week as well, too, having getting rescued by my good friend, Adam, one of our viewers here, bringing me some really awesome tomatoes. So I talked all about that in our garden journal, kind of gave you a good look around at all of the new tomato varieties that we have, because I'm not growing the ones I was really thinking about because I messed up. I totally ruined my first batch of tomatoes. My second batch wasn't quite where they should have been, or I wanted them to be before they go out into the garden space. But Adam had some great starts already hardened off, just perfect sized, as I would already have mine by this time of year, ready to go into the garden. And we got them out. We got all of our tomatoes out. We did this actually just this last week or so, but I did get that video showing all of that out for all of you yesterday. So please go check that out if you haven't had a chance to check out our more recent garden journal. And again, too, I'm catching up. I'm doing some videos on other things and stuff. We've got our pepper video series still coming out as well, too. I've got a couple of more of those videos that should be released here this week as well, too, talking about how we're getting them all ready to go out into the garden as well, too. So lots and lots growing on out in our gardens right now, for sure. Planting out tons of stuff. In fact, we've got you know, a bunch of melons. We've got a bunch of squash. There's a couple of variety of squash that I got that are going out into our garden spaces. I'm really going to try to give it another shot. We're going to really keep an eye on them this time and make sure, hopefully, that we can keep those going good. Couple of really great varieties of squash, and then we're going to try to do another pumpkin in our space that we usually grow some pumpkins right out on our, kind of got a little highlight space in our alleyway there too, that I like to have a nice pumpkin, especially a good big sized one too. So I'm going to try to grow as big one I can. I got a dill Atlantic variety, and we're just going to try to grow a big one. We'll single fruit it when we get our good solid fruit on there when it comes down to it, and we'll pump all the energy into it all of that as well too. But we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we get. But I figured, you know, this is going to be really my granddaughter's first real like Halloween and all of that sort of stuff, and how fun would it be to get some pictures with her with a big old pumpkin and all of that stuff too. So that's kind of the purpose in all of that when it comes down to it. But gonna be fun growing all of that stuff too. So we're getting all of that stuff out. They're going out into the garden. Everything's perfectly warm enough now too. I mean, as I've talked about before, here, our weather here in Southern Oregon over the last couple of years has just been basically like a switch flipping off. We get, just barely any sort of spring. And we did. There was a barely spring that we got, but it's basically a switch that just flipped, and now we're going right into basically summertime. I'm sure we're about to hit some really hot temperatures this week in the 90s this weekend, and through this week and stuff too right here. So maybe even upper 90s as well too. So I don't know. We'll see when it comes down to it. But the soil's warm enough. Everything's great. We're getting plants out. So all of that stuff is just really, really wonderful. Love to get out and to be able to see the garden and just really start to fill out. We're on kind of getting things in a way kind of restarted as we're rebuilding, reworking on some new projects, and kind of just gearing up through this next year and this next season. So it's really great right now to see things getting in their place. Plants are starting to grow, and before too long the garden's going to be full of just wonderful plants everywhere, producing just amazing tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and squash and pumpkins and all of that really, really great stuff for sure. And definitely looking forward to all of that as we get through the growing season. So yeah, things are getting really excited in the garden, and again too, I can really feel it too. The energy's up. That gardener energy is really, really up as I've been just really enjoying being out in the garden spaces and everything too. So right on. Let's say hi to a few people here real quick before we get moving on to our first guest we have here today. And let's see here. Of course, we got to say hi to our good friend Jay Dixon, joining us from Midwestern Ontario, Canada. Jay is our facilitator of the show, so you'll want to watch out for links and different things that Jay will drop into our conversation there to help our conversation move along and give us great additional information to things that we're talking about. Keep an eye out for that. Small channels. You have a small channel. Any of you out there, you haven't jumped into our chat yet, and you got a channel and you want to shout out or something like that, jump into our chat, say hi, let us know that you're out there growing, you're out there sharing, and Jay will be perfectly happy to get a link shout out to for your channel there. So definitely do that if you can as well. Let's see here. I see we got David from Bowtie Life in the Garden as well too. Awesome, David. Great to see you. Thanks for joining with us here today. Right on. And my good friend Adam, our other moderator here in the conversation, my good friend, like I said, from right up the road here in Central Point, Oregon. And definitely made the title of our garden journal this last week too, as I would say. And Adam came to the rescue. Thank you so much for those varieties of tomatoes, Adam. I really, really appreciate it. My garden appreciates it, and I'm so looking forward to seeing all these plants, producing some great tomatoes. So thanks again, Adam. Really, really awesome of you to step it up and really show what gardening community is all about. That's another thing we kind of talked about too, was overall what it means to have good local garden community. Garden communities are great. We've got a big worldwide one we're building right here on the Let's Get Growing show, which is awesome. But good local community is really great, and it's great to have good friends like Adam just right up the road from you who can help save your butt when it comes down to it, and you mess up all of your tomatoes, and you can still get good plants and good tomatoes coming out of your garden. So again, thank you so much. Right on. Bowtie says peaches and pears, Bob. Yeah, I am glad. I mean, I'm so surprised I have not gotten pears off of that tree in all the few years I've had it, that it's been producing and all of that. And again, to really just a good move. I've put it in a couple of different places, but just this move, right, just a few weeks back, seems to have been just what that thing needed to hold on to that fruit, is what I'm thinking. I mean, it could be another factor or something, but that was the biggest factor involved between last year and this year, is I just moved it to the back patio, and it's maybe getting just a little bit more shade or something. I don't know, but it's holding on to the fruit, and they're big. So I'm really, really excited. Renato Luno, thank you for joining us. Asked, have you had Andre Farmer on the show? Well, that's great you asked that question, because yes, Yes, absolutely. We have had Andre Farmer on the show. We had him just a few weeks back, not too long ago. In fact, I'm sure that Jay would drop in a link for that show if you wanted to go check that one specifically out. But yeah, we had a great conversation with Andre for sure, right here on the Let's Get Growing show. Thank you so much for dropping in there as well too. Anna, thank you for being here. Great to see you from Northeast New England. We got Shooting the Soil in here as well too. Thank you so much for being here. Right on, right on. Renato says, I'm keeping it simple this year. Tomatoes and peppers. I feel like I'm kind of keeping it simple to a certain degree, but the more and more I get out there, the more and more I'm planting things and planting things, the more and more it seems like everything's just filling up, and I feel like I've just got a full garden anyways, you know? And it was really going back to what I was saying about my first video in the garden journal this year. I was trying to kind of alleviate pressure on myself, you know, to not really have to put too much into certain things, you know, because we're really focused on and working on some other things, you know. So same with the garden. I was like, well, let's just do this and let's just do that. Kind of like you were saying, I was like, peppers, tomatoes, I'll throw a little cucumbers in there. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, we got to grow the pumpkin for the baby and in Halloween and all of that. And then I got to get, some squash now, because again, the granddaughter loves loves butternut squash right now. So I'm going to grow some butternut squash, see if we can't keep that going. You know what I mean? When it goes, but you know, all this stuff is coming up more and more. The garden's filling up with more and more stuff. So really, really great. Adam says he's been in the garden since 7 this morning. Wow. Right on. Excellent. Right on, everybody. Thank you so much. Got Bohemian Herbology right here. Stoked to be able to catch the live today. Looks like a good time for sure. It definitely is. Definitely is. We always have a good time right here live every single weekend here on the Let's Get Growing show with all of our great guests. So really awesome. Awesome to have you here, Bohemian. And let's see here. We've got Sherry joining with us. I'm hoping to try some small sweet pie pumpkins this year. Yes. Actually, I think really we're going to do that one, but I think you're on. I've kind of thought about this, but I really want to get some really good pie pumpkins and do that and give that a try as well myself too. I think I'll make that my next year goal for the pumpkin patch. Grow some small ones, and that way I grow a bunch of them too, because I'm always trying to grow these different varieties and trying these different ones out and stuff, just to try these different things, and just for our pumpkin patch specifically. Like I said, it's kind of a little highlight spot of the alleyway for people who are walking by, and you can kind of see this little pumpkin patch and see the cool little pumpkins in there and everything too. So yeah, growing some really good pie ones will be a great idea. Right on. Adam's talking about what I was saying about the weather, because he's right here in the valley with me. And he says it's supposed to be 100 plus here tomorrow. 100 plus. I was only seeing like maybe upper 90s. So maybe they've adjusted that weather since I looked last. But yeah, flipped just like that. Now any hope of any sort of late spring or anything like that going into summer is over. It's summertime for sure. Shawnee, awesome. It was great to catch her live the other night. Everybody, if you haven't had a chance to go check out Shawnee Grows and check out her live streams, they're a little more impromptu and all of that when it comes down to it, but wonderful live streams. Thank you for being here, Shawnee. She says, listening from the van lineup to cruise. Oh, wow. All right. Sounds like a bunch of fun. Thank you so much for listening in. And like I said, if you did get a chance, go check out one of Shawnee's live streams. She does a really awesome job just laying out some great gardening information for sure. All right, everybody. We got to get moving along today. I'm having so much fun talking with all of you here. Real quick here, we got Rick joining us. Awesome. It's always good to see Rick from the future joining us from tomorrow down under in Australia. Thanks for getting up early, Rick, and hanging out with us. It's always great to see you. Right on. Let's see here. Don't want to really miss anybody. Teats, Treats. Oh, excellent. Great to see you. Hope everything in your garden's going great. And again, thanks for joining us on our community show. I'm going to work on getting another one of those set up here real soon, and hopefully we'll get get you to come back on and show us an update about what's going on in the garden or so. But yeah, excellent, guys. Thank you so much for jumping in. Thank you for being here, everyone. So really awesome to have everybody here and joining in on the conversation with us here today. And like I said, we've got some really, really awesome guests to join with us here in just a minute. We got a return guest here on the show. So awesome. Let's go and check out that here, or actually here in just a minute, actually. I'm getting ahead of myself, everybody. I'm kind of excited. We got a great show. Like I said, I'm always excited about hanging out with all of you guys here every single weekend. But gotta take a real quick break here real quick, and then we'll be right back and catch up with our good friend Yaz from over in Manchester.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants, and author, Saving the World with the Home Garden. Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
Hi everyone, this is Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop, here with this week's trivia question. Approximately what percentage of a cantaloupe is made up of water? A, 80%, B, 85%, C, 90%, or D, 95%? We'll be back with the answer a little later in the show.
Right on, right on, right on. Do you know the answer to Sarah's trivia question? What percentage of a cantaloupe is water? That's a good question. I'm sure, again, obviously, all of the choices are really, really high percentages of water for sure. But man, I love cantaloupe. Like I was mentioning just a little bit ago, too. I got some cantaloupe all ready and planted out in the garden now. So hopefully, we'll have some great, delicious ones in our garden, too. But if you got your idea for what the answer to Sarah's trivia question is, definitely jump into the chat wherever it is for you. I guess it could be down there or wherever. But jump into the chat. Let us know what you think the answer to Sarah's trivia question is. Or if you want to really test yourself out, you replay watchers, put the suggestion that you think it is down in the comments real quick, and then see if you're right here in just a little bit later in the show when we catch up with Sarah there to see the answer of that trivia question. Right on, right on. Time to get moving on today. It is time for Are You Following Me?
Are you following me? Are you following me, dude?
All right. Returning to the show. Really excited to have back with us today. We've got Yasmin El Gabri from at MCR Urban Gardener over there in Manchester, United Kingdom. Thanks for coming back, Yaz. It's great to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back. Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever people are.
I know, right? We're all over the world here for sure. Like I said, I always like to tease and joke. We got our good friend Rick. He's in the audience right now, but he's over there in Australia, bright and early from the future, I always say, because it's tomorrow over there.
What's it like tomorrow, Rick?
It is tomorrow over there already. So he's up early hanging out with us too. And here you are over there from Manchester, United Kingdom, hanging out with us as well too. Thanks for joining the conversation today. Yes, we had a great time hanging out with you last time on the show and talking all about that. I want to go over some some stuff as well too and see how things are going. But real quick here, I'll just give you a minute here. Reintroduce yourself to everybody. Let us all know about Yaz and MCR Urban Gardener and all the fun that you have over there in your gardens.
Great. So, great introduction. My name's Yaz. I live in Manchester in the northwest of the UK. I'm originally from Southern California, so I'd never gardened before in my life, and I'm sure we'll go a bit more over this later. So learning to garden in a climate that I was really unfamiliar with has taught me just so much. And I have specifically learned, hence my username on Instagram, specifically learned to garden in a really urban space. So I live just outside of the city center. I have a really tiny terraced paved yard, so kind of what I think most Americans would consider more of a patio, but we have these gorgeous, really long cobbled Edwardian Victorian alleyways in the back of our houses. And so I've worked with some neighbors since about 2017, 2018 to convert that alleyway into a community garden, and since then it's just kind of exploded. Like, so many alleys around us have done it, and some had started before, and we've inspired others to start, and it's just created such an amazing community. And I also have a small allotment also just outside the city center, so I focus growing food more for myself, a little less for my community, but nice to have that small bit of space where I can just really grow whatever I want and experiment and get to enjoy gardening in the ground versus gardening in containers.
Yeah, I know. And again, too, that kind of brings me back to as what we were talking about last time, just a lot of similarities in a way. You're in a far bigger city than I am, for sure, but I'm kind of just right outside of downtown. I'm utilizing kind of my spaces in a way, patios and little rooftops and alleyways. Like you guys got different types of alleyway that I've got and all of that as well too, which really kind of creates some cool character to the sort of things that you're able to do with your alleyway spaces. But I love those cool kind of similarities that we have with our urban garden spaces and everything as well too. So that's great, as well as and I haven't done it in a couple of years. I still kind of go over and hang out with some of the groups over at a couple of my community gardens, that we call them over here. You all call them allotments over there. But I want to get out and do just a little bit more as far as things and projects I'm doing in my community. I don't need necessarily the extra space as much anymore, but it's good to always be involved in doing that sort of stuff with those sort of groups and people who are doing those sort of things. So really, really love that. Love your story there doing that. So let's talk a little bit more again too about kind of how this all got started, because if I remember correctly though too about our first conversation, you weren't much of a gardener prior to all of this, right? I mean, this was really kind of just a getting out to connect with your community kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I am frank in saying I knew nothing about gardening, not a single thing. I think I had a couple houseplants, and kind of those generic houseplants you just buy, because you see them in the supermarket, your sort of rubber tree or snake plants. So I knew so little about it.
Well, I've got plenty of those. So, I do all of that as well. There's snake plants, rubber trees. We've got them right here. Straight from my supermarket.
It's a gateway drug. It's what starts everyone off.
That's right.
And actually, I have a kitten, so everything's had to be moved. Otherwise, this room is also full of them. It was kind of incredible to, get outside and think, I'm just going to clean up this alleyway because it's so full of rubbish and trash, and fly tipping is what we call when people come and dump from outside the community in. So fridges and mattresses and all those sorts of things. And we as a community just said, listen, enough's enough. We need to live in a nice place. We want to have pride in our community, and we just don't have it. So we got together and we started cleaning and pulling weeds. And I mean, like, the weeds were a foot high. They were huge. All growing up in between these gorgeous cobbles, but it was a lot of work. And we had the council come and pick up a lot of the stuff that had been dumped. So we would have 2 to 3 mattresses or 2 to 3 fridges a night dumped. So just for context, volume of stuff. So
wow.
when I'd open my back gate, I actually couldn't access the outside fully. So that's how we got together. We got together more as a cleanup project. And then we started thinking, oh, pop some plants out. It'll look better. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're, what are we, 6-7 years on, and it's like actually like a gorgeous garden, and I would consider it a garden. But more importantly, it's really gotten my community to know each other, and none of us were gardeners, so I didn't even understand UK climate at this point. But even my British neighbors had never gardened, and we actually have people from across the world, and some of them grew up in households like me where their parents were interested, but you know, it hadn't quite passed on yet.
I was kind of one of those households for at least my daughters growing up, in a sense, because it wasn't until a bit later on that I discovered growing food and all of that. She's always grown up with the house plants and all that sort of stuff, but the growing food aspect and gardening and that sort of thing is still something I'm still working on with her now in her adulthood, trying to catch up from what I missed out on from when she was younger. But now I got my granddaughter now this last year, and so she's now going to be about a year old. So I can look forward to the next couple of years, hopefully having her out there planting her own seeds. And we're going to make sure for sure that it's definitely a part of her life at all too.
You'll have tons of strawberry plants growing. That's what all the kids around here, their favorite part is picking strawberries.
That's right. Bowtie Life in the Garden asks, is Yaz on YouTube at all?
I am not.
No YouTube? Huh?
No. It's mostly a time thing. I have a full-time job, so I'm trying to do Instagram and YouTube, and so I'm not. But
I get you. I understand there.
Yeah, that's why things like this are perfect, because I get to meet people, obviously, who I wouldn't see otherwise. But I am on Instagram, so if you're on there, please do get in touch. But yeah, sorry, not on YouTube.
That's all right. Instagram's just fine. We love our Insta gardeners around here as well too, and definitely got links to Yaz's Instagram down below for all of you to go check that out too. And like I always say too, everybody, make sure you go and check it out and leave her a comment on a recent post or something. Let her know you saw her here on the Let's Get Growing show. So yeah, so again too, real quickly though, one of the reasons I found you in your garden, all of that, was through our friendship and getting to know Jason Williams over at Cloud Gardener UK. About when did you get to meet Jason through this garden project?
That's so funny, because I did an event with Jason today as well. So
oh, did you? Oh, you just we had him on just a couple weeks back as well.
Yeah.
That's what made me think of you too. I was like, I have Jason. I got what I got, and then I thought of having you back on, and I was like, okay, but I've got to make sure someday I get these two on together.
Yeah,
we'll have to do that sometime. We will.
Jason and I met quite a few years ago now, probably 3 to 4 years ago, on a gardening project, and we were talking about, you know, the kind of highs and lows of community gardening and just general gardening, to be quite honest. And a big conversation Jason and I had in the early days is being a working class gardener. So you know, we don't have hundreds and thousands of pounds or houses with acreage that we could grow on. And it was one of those things we kind of bonded on instantly. And I think in the UK, there is a lot of, I think, like class around gardening. So you're only a gardener if you have a horticultural degree, and you're not a gardener. And for me, it's really important that anyone who is planting plants is a gardener, and that's who we are. Right. So that's how Jason and I met. And then in 2023, we worked together. Jason designed an alleyway garden inspired by the garden me and my neighbors run, as well as loads of alleyway gardens kind of across the Northwest and the UK more broadly. And we designed, or Jason designed, and I kind of supported with the RHS Tatton Flower Show alleyway garden, the first alleyway garden ever in a flower show, which was incredible. And it got such amazing. I mean, it was exhausting. I'll be honest. That was hard work. I don't know how people do this.
I don't know how he's. I mean, he's on a run right now. Jason is himself, and I don't know how he can keep going himself when it comes to everything. But
they're hard work. Yeah, exhausting, but so amazing. And I think what I
Mhm.
found so incredible about doing a flower show with Jason and just more broadly is how inspired people were. Like it felt
Yes.
so good that something
Mhm.
I kind of did, and you know, a lot of the things were ideas that we had already had in our alleyway or we wanted to have. And yeah, it was just incredible that people from across the country were coming and saying, I'm going to do this now, or I'm going to take this and I can't do it fully, but I can take an aspect. And I was like, that's all we
Yeah.
need is little bits, little bits. And like you say, you know, our
Mhm.
alleyways are very different, but we've
Yeah.
greened up a space that would otherwise probably not look very nice. And you know, that's really important.
I think it is really. And again, too, again, on the idea of the work that for one, taking what he did with just a balcony garden, which I caught on early with and saw, to bringing it to this idea and movement that you guys are all already kind of a part of doing too, I think is a really great thing to be highlighting more and more of right now. And that's urban green spaces, urban gardening, what we're doing with just unused spaces that are just neglected, and all of that, because really it comes down to, I think something that I notice as well too, that you talked about there just a second ago, is that you find people who are inspired constantly by seeing this sort of stuff, but yet this was like the first installation of this sort of show, right? And it's something that I've constantly seen since I first started getting into gardening years ago, because I immediately got into like urban gardening because that's what I had. It's my space. So immediately my attention's hyper focused on it. But yet the amount of attention to most of to this isn't very much ultimately.
Mhm.
I mean, we hear about urban gardening and we see several channels and folks who are doing that, but there's a lot of attention, say, in the wider shows or the larger community, and just more normal gardening, backyard gardening, all the way up to market gardening and homesteading.
Yeah.
Had a huge burst over this last 10 years and all of that too, especially with the rise of YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And I really believe that urban gardening is really on the cusp of that next sort of thing too, and having its time, because
Yeah.
ultimately more people live in cities, and
Absolutely.
more people who are getting to see this sort of stuff are getting inspired by it, right? So it just shows you the potential there is out there for this to really get out and really explode in some way, if we can really get more attention brought to it. And I really love the work that you do with that. And that's exactly why I like having you on the show, to talk about these spaces too. So let's talk a little bit more about this. You're still in the alleyway, right? You guys are still
Yeah.
working this space, right? How's it looking? How's it going right now?
Oh, I honestly wish I had I could take you out there right now
I
because
know.
it looks beautiful. It's
Oh,
gorgeous this time of year.
yeah.
You know, it's kind of just starting to feel like summer's coming. We've had a couple gorgeous weeks in the UK, followed by a week of rain, but that does
Mhm.
mean the flowers are looking incredible. We have veg growing out there, and that's all doing really well. So we should have a very bountiful year.
Yeah.
But actually, what I'm most impressed with this year is, following on from last summer to this year, we have had the most engagement from neighbors than we've ever had.
Oh,
So
great.
it's been so nice having so many people out, just kind of getting involved for the first time or getting back involved if they haven't been out for a while. And we had a pizza party last summer, so we're hoping to keep that going this year. And nothing brings people together like food. So being able to
Mhm.
harvest it and then eat it with them straight away is just so nice.
Yes, absolutely. And are you seeing any sort of growth in a sense yourself though too from your project, or have you other projects that have kind of come about because of someone who was inspired by what you guys were doing?
Yeah, I mean, I spend quite a significant amount of my free time now, kind of helping people, talking to people, going to various events or shows, or just, you know, talks like this to make sure that people know what they can do in a small space. And I think a
Mhm.
small space and a small budget, and those things are both very important.
Exactly. Yep.
Um, and teaching them how they can access funding, because you know, here we have a lot of funding available for community spaces and community gardens and anything that kind of can help with cleaner air or reduce our impact on the climate or increase food security or improve our mental health. So I just try to help people find those things. but I've also become just like a much better gardener in myself,
Mhm.
which is it's
Yeah.
nice. Sometimes I feel like I know what I'm doing, which is incredible because that, that's quite a new feeling.
I know.
Um,
I get caught up in that sometimes too.
yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's why it's worked.
Right, exactly.
And then I accepted another small amount of land at the allotment as well. So
Yes.
I've just kind of started this in the past maybe month or two. So yeah, for anyone who does follow me on Instagram, you'll be sure to see a lot of before and afters in the next couple of months because I'm really working hard to get that space converted so we can have a bit more food growing locally as well. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
gardening's like ultimately changed my life for the best, for the better, but it's still a little bit of hard work, but I really enjoy it.
That's right. It's the work you really enjoy in the long run. It's still just as hard. It's still a lot of effort. There's a lot of things that go into it for sure. I've been working really, back-breaking hours in the garden the last few weeks. Yeah, I mean, you can really feel it at the end of the day. But the crazy thing is no matter how much, like say the knees, because they're getting up and down or whatever, and I'm an old man now, you know. So no matter how much I'm kind of feeling that a little bit, I'm still sitting back with a smile on my face at the end of the day. It's
And
just
I'm
that
still
I've
out the
enjoyed
next
my
day to do
time
it again.
and back to do it again. Exactly. It's so great. It's so great. Well, awesome. Awesome, Yaz. Again, it's so awesome to talk to you. I mean, I could talk to you forever about all of this sort of stuff. And like I said, what we'll have to do is, and I'll work with Jason on this. Maybe what we'll do is we'll set up for a fun Sunday conversation. We'll get the both of you together and we'll have a nice long conversation and really dig into kind of the importance of green spaces and urban gardening and all that sort of stuff as well too, because there's still a lot to talk about that. And I think it's still, I think we're really on the cusp of something maybe big this next 10 years when it comes to that sort of stuff, and it'll be plenty to discuss on that. So again, thank you so much for being here. It
Thank you
was
so
so
much for
awesome
having me,
to have caught up with you again and to hear about these just really wonderful gardens you have over there in the UK there, and again to Manchester, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Manchester, United Kingdom. Excellent. All right. So everybody, real quick, like I said, we got the link right down below for Yasmin's at MCR, which is for Manchester, at MCR Urban Gardener. Link down below to our Instagram. Go check out all of that. And again, you can go and get you probably got some good recent photos so everybody can check out how cool that alleyway garden is, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'll put up some more. So you'll keep coming back for more. Don't worry.
Yes. Keep coming back for more. Exactly. Well, awesome, Yasmin. Thank you so much for being here. It's always great to have you. And we're really looking forward to seeing you again next time.
Thanks so much for having me. See ya.
You got it. Bye-bye. Hey, gardeners. Thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
The answer to this week's trivia question is C. Cantaloupes are made up of 90% water, making them almost as juicy as watermelons. Because of their high water content, they have a really low glycemic index score, meaning that they won't cause your blood sugar to spike when you eat them. Thanks for watching. Head over to Sarah's Seed Shop where you can find garden seeds at unbeatable prices. Enjoy the rest of the show and have a great day.
All right, all right. Did you get Sarah's trivia question right today? 90% water. That's a lot of water, but delicious, delicious, delicious. One of my favorite fruits for sure. Cantaloupes. Excited about growing and having some of those in my garden this year as well too. So definitely go and check out sarahseedshop.com and go and get some of your essential seeds for your garden there. You won't find a better deal, better value, tons of seeds, great price over at sarahseedshop.com. And thank you, Sarah, for the trivia this week. And also, again, too, congratulations on the engagement this last week as well, too. Right on, right on. Thank you all so much again for being here today. If you didn't get a chance to check out last week's show, you'll definitely want to go back and check out our show last Saturday. We had on the show our good friend from the Pacific Northwest's garden treasure, Mr. Cisco Morris, joined with us to talk all about his gardens and a bunch of really fun garden stories and all of that. You'll definitely want to go back and check out that conversation if you didn't get a chance. Cisco is just a really, really entertaining gardener for sure. And also we got to meet Aaron from Garden Zaddy joined with us too for our Are You Following Me, and had a great conversation with him as well too. So you'll want to go back and check out those shows if you didn't get a chance to check out those shows as well too. So again, thank you all for being here, and it's time now for our featured guest.
You never know when you might learn something, and that's what this is about for me. These are people that I admire. Please welcome my next guest.
All right, everybody. Let's welcome to the show Jeremy Troski from Dirty Punk Gardening. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for joining the show. Doing? It's great to have you here today.
Good to be here.
Awesome to have you, man. It's really great. Been looking forward to talking with you for a while here. Been enjoying all of your content here for the last, you've been out for a little while now too. I've been following along here, so
I think I've been doing it about 3 years.
I know at least probably for the last couple though too. I know I've been following along, but really fun to follow along with what you're doing over there. And again, thanks for taking the time to be here. I'm going to give you a minute here to introduce yourself to everybody. Let everybody know who you are. Let everybody know about Dirty Punk Gardening, and then we'll dig right into it.
My name's Jeremy. I live in Zone 6B in Ohio. I have what I consider to be an urban garden. It's more like a suburban kind of area, but the style of gardening that I do would be more of an urban style gardening due to my restrictions and stuff like that for where I'm at. But I'm on all social media pretty much now. And my current garden, this will be the 5th year for it. So that's really when I kind of started doing the social media, is when I started building this garden.
Okay. Excellent. That's awesome. So real quick here though too, one of the things we love to do is just really kind of dig into garden stories, folks' garden journeys and all of that sort of stuff. So how does your garden journey, how does your garden story take shape? You know, is this something that maybe started when you were younger, something that's just kind of always been with you? Or is this something you came onto later on, you know?
In my early 30s, I would have a couple tomato plants, a couple pepper plants, nothing big, just a few things. And then when I met my wife, we were dating, we moved in together. So we had a little bit of a yard, did a couple little gardens, and it just seemed every year got a little bigger. After we had our first gardens in, I was like, you know, I'm getting a lot of produce here. I need to start figuring out what to do with this. I've learned how to can, all that stuff. And just every year it just gets bigger and bigger. Then we actually bought the house next door to us and moved in there because it had an extra lot.
Oh, excellent.
So that gave us a lot more space where we could really start getting into it. And over the last probably 5 years, I've been taking it really seriously. And the garden we're in now, it continues to expand every year as well.
Right on. Well, that's awesome too, and it's great to be able to kind of expand out. And I kind of like the idea that you on the other hand are kind of maybe a little different than a lot of gardeners as they get started. You know, is in the sense that you had a couple of plants and you were fine. You were doing a couple of plants for a while and everything, and then all of a sudden, let's add a little more. And then let's add a little more. Whereas a lot of us gardeners are like, okay, well, I grew one plant. Now I want to grow every single plant I can find. You know what I mean? And you really kind of gradually got yourself into it, which is great. I love to hear that.
Yeah, I think it was when I started canning and stuff is when I really, that's really where it started kind of taking off, when I started realizing all the stuff that I could do with what I'm growing, you know, because I had all this extra and I was like, well, this is almost too much. But then, you know, once I realized all the stuff I could do with it, then I started wanting to add new things every year. And, you know, it kind of became an obsession, you know, to see how much I can do. And it will
eventually get you. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It will eventually get you.
It's not a hobby anymore. It's a lifestyle at this point.
Exactly. There you go. I like it. A lifestyle. It's definitely my lifestyle for sure. And, you know, as many of the folks that we get to talk to here on the show, similar to our first guest as well too, you know, this is something that comes about in our lives, and when it comes, it happens and changes our lives and turns into, like you say, a lifestyle, right?
Yeah. And I'm constantly influenced by being in the, like, you know, creator community. I'm constantly influenced by other creators who I've become friends with and everything. So I see them doing things. I'm like, oh, I want to try that. So, you know, like this year I've got okra growing for the first time. I've never even eaten okra.
Right. Well,
so
awesome.
You know, I always want to try something new. Got some figs.
Yeah.
You know, different stuff I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And again, too, that's where you're really at that cool phase of exploring and learning new. And I'm still, I mean, again, too, you'll garden for the rest of your life and probably never discover like every cool thing you can and all that sort of stuff, or the different varieties possible that you could grow or these things. But that discovery phase of like, oh man, I've never grown this before, I got to try it out, you know, is just, you know, and I love that. Trying new things is kind of a bit of advice, you know. It's like I'll always tell gardeners, again, most of them, like I said, are jumping into a bunch of stuff, so we're always trying to heed gardeners back a little bit, like, okay, well, grow all that sort of stuff, but focus on maybe like one or two things, you know what I mean?
Start with the things you know you like.
Yeah start with the things you know you like, right? And then you expand onto these other things.
Don't grow a bunch of things you're not sure about, and then you just have, you know, a bunch of stuff.
Then really focus on those and get good at them, but have fun growing everything, you know, let all that stuff, whatever, don't put as too much time into all that, but really focus on a few good ones. And like you said, that's a really good idea, especially at first, those ones that you're really going to enjoy the most, you're going to use the most, right? Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love it, man. That's awesome too. And then this is also another thing for you too that you're doing in exploring this this journey in gardening is that you're getting to share it with your partner as well too. So this is something that you guys are taking on together as well, and I see that in your social media too. So that's really great. I love that about that.
Yeah, it's more me.
Yeah,
but she enjoys it as well. She still enjoys having some free time.
There you go. Right.
So we let her kind of focus on the things she really likes, and, you know, whenever she wants to do what she wants to do. For me, it's a second full-time job. So
Yeah.
But yeah, we really enjoy
There's
it.
A lot of like, honey, come, you got to check this out. Or like, oh, you got to see it here. Or maybe even some hold the camera for me. I've got to get this shot or something.
Yeah,
right?
But she's
those things.
She's getting really into her flowers and stuff. She's got her dahlias and stuff this year, so that's what she really likes to do.
Oh yeah, dahlias are amazing. Those are really great. So really, what is it really that you know, in this process of gardening that you've come to enjoy the most about it? It's a lot of stuff, it's hard to pin something down, huh?
So I'm not like the kind of guy like likes to go out a lot and, you know, do social things. Like I really like, I've kind of created, my garden's not just a, you know, garden where I grow stuff.
Yeah.
Like spring to fall, like it's our living room, it's our kitchen. Like we're never not out there. Like, so I just really, for me, we just kind of created this space, not just a garden, but like a living space, a space that we spend all of our free time pretty much. So yeah, like I said, it's just kind of a lifestyle for me now, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy being out there, creating new things in the garden. It's very rewarding for me. Something I'm very proud of.
Yeah. Was there kind of a moment though, in a sense though too, where it was kind of like, because you're going from, growing a few plants and then kind of adding things slowly, and then all of a sudden you're really rolling into now lifestyle. What was that moment in a sense though too? Because I'm always fascinated with this too, because there's this, as I say, and I think about a lot though, and this happened for me as a gardener, is I got out just because in a way that I just needed a place to be. I kind of needed something of my own that I could do outside of a lot of things in my life that I was just trying to move and change. And so I was going through a real kind of transformation in my life. A lot of things were going on. And I was building up this garden at the same time and really getting into it. But there was this moment, kind of in a sense, that I felt like this garden's giving me more back from it than what I'm expecting, in a sense, because I was just going out there. I'm going to plant some tomatoes. I want all these peppers. I was really into peppers. I was like, oh, we're going to try all these different pepper varieties and stuff and that sort of stuff. But then there was this moment where I was kind of like, wow, wait a minute. This is different. I feel different. I'm thinking differently. And the only thing I can really attribute to that in my life is this change I made in spending more time outdoors in my garden space. Is that similar, or was there a moment for you that was like that in a way? Because that's when lifestyle happened for me. Now I'm full on. I'm watching YouTube videos all day long on all sorts of different things. I'm trying to grow everything I possibly can, expanding my spaces in any way I can, all that sort of stuff, and spending literally, 90% of my time gardening or some sort of gardening activity.
Yeah, I can't be indoors. Like there's never a moment that I just want to spend time on the couch in front of the TV. We don't even have cable. Like I'm not indoors. So that's why I just enjoy so much being out there. And when the first year we did the garden, we did like 6 beds and then like a big in-ground bed. And we were like, wow, this is a huge garden. And then immediately we're like, well, we have space over here. We have space over here. We can do something here. So it's just every year, like we're looking at it and we're like, well, what can we do next year? And it's just, I don't know. It just gives us this, and it's something I'm really proud of. I just really, when I do something, I go all in. Like I don't like half do anything. Like if I'm doing it, I want to be the best at it. I want to, I'm going all in. I'm devoting everything to it because I want to do something I can be really proud of. And when I look at my garden, it's something I can be really proud of, and I can really enjoy spending time out there.
I really feel you there too. And on that same level too, something that I can be proud of that I've done and I've accomplished. And in one things too, for me was that similar, like you're saying though, too, I want to do this. I want to be the best at this or that or whatever. I, in a sense, looked at my spaces as kind of a challenge when I first started growing. I grew this one cucumber, boom, and now I got to grow all of this sort of stuff, but I got no space for it. So I'm looking at everything as a challenge. What can I do? You know what I mean? So my mind's going, how can I beat this space and turn it into the best thing that can be possible to grow the most I can do and all that sort of stuff. Leverage this space out as much as possible for my own food growing. So I have that same kind of mentality when I got into my garden spaces too, and it's really kind of wild where that can take you as well too. But for you, really, what was it really, in a sense, where you're moving into doing that, and now it's become a lifestyle that you decided that you want to go ahead and share this with the wider world? For me, again, too, coming back to it, I had these spaces. I was doing a similar thing. I want to tackle all this stuff and make it as cool as possible. And then I accomplished some things, and I was really proud of it, like you said. And I got mine's a more public facing space. I got people walking through, and I got people going, oh, wow, here. This is really cool.
We're right out on the street.
I had buckets up on my rooftop. I got, what are you doing up there? And what's this in your alleyway? And oh, we dropped you there, Jeremy. Let's see. Let's get you back in there. There you are. We're back again. Dropped there for a second. But anyways, yeah, I had a lot of people coming around, and that's when I was kind of like, oh, wow, really? People think this is cool. That sort of thing.
The people in the neighborhood really seem to enjoy it. I got a lot of
Yeah.
people coming by, just you see them driving by slow. Everybody's saying, everybody wants to check it out. So yeah, I think it's a cool thing for the neighborhood. And it's cool. It's the challenge of, and you learn as you go, utilizing the space. At first, we kind of had the beds are spread out a little bit. Every year we kind of rearrange a little bit, and you learn that you could do a lot more in the space than you thought you could at first.
Yeah.
So now, what we had before now, and then making the jump to like, okay, we have this garden now. We need to provide stuff for the pollinators and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get into like growing some native perennials and stuff, and trying to figure all that stuff out. And now we have this like thriving ecosystem in the middle of town here, just like with so much life, and it's just such a cool thing.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Like too, when I get someone in and they'll be walking by through the alleyway and they'll notice those sort of things, and then I'll take them into like the back patio space when things are really growing, during that time of year, and it's really interesting. It's like people are really fascinated with everything, but at the same time, they're always like, because things are flying around, there's things going on, and I'm like, oh, isn't this awesome? Look at the life that's just really taken over in this sort of space.
Yeah,
those things are really great as well too. But
when people come into the garden, they're generally like surprised at all the wasps that are just flying around, and I'm like, they're cool, leave them. They're not gonna bother you. It's just because you built it, and we never get stung. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever bothers us because they have everything they need there. It's a great space for them.
Yeah, the wasps were a big learning one for me in the long run too, because even though early on in my gardening I was learning a lot about beneficials and that sort of stuff, wasps just always escaped my mind when it came to those sort of things. Those are still evil, that sort of thing,
I preach it all the time. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
They're good. They're great pollinators, maybe even better than the bees.
Yep. Oh yeah, look, and just in time for this part of the conversation too. There's Gardening with Des. Good to see you, Des. Yay, right on. Yeah, and again too, similar, and I've talked with Des about this as well too, is that for me, I was very afraid of like bees and stingers and biters and things like that growing up and everything. So again, that was kind of natural for me to still not acknowledge them for a long time. But then there's a point where you get comfortable enough in your garden and you know what you're building in this ecosystem, like you're talking about with your space, where you're sitting there one day and then a wasp flies in, and instead of like running or freaking out about it, you kind of just turn your fear into fascination. And then so you kind of step back and you look and you watch, and then next thing you notice is this wasp is down up in the underneath of your plants, and they're just hovering and rolling around inside of things and coming in and out. And you're like, whoa, what is going on? And then you look in there and you notice your little cutworms that are rolling up and down your plants and everything, and they're in there just trying to get them and everything, and you're like, oh, whoa, okay, dude, you're now my best friend. You know?
And
so like
my wife is allergic to anything that stings. So at first she's like, this could be kind of dangerous with all these things flying around out here. Now she's perfectly comfortable. She knows she doesn't have to worry about getting stung by anything out there. Never has.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's just one of those things, and I like to tell people too, because I come from that that real fear. Like I was one of those kids. Like I said, I got stung once when I was a little kid. I got bit by a horsefly again a little bit later on, and from that point on, I run when for years of my life into my adulthood. I'd be out at the lake with friends. We're out at the bonfire. And then all of a sudden, like something will come running through the group or whatever, and it's me out of everybody who's And here's the thing, though, again, how another aspect of how gardening has changed my life is I'm no longer that person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer that person.
Well, a lot of people get into gardening. They're like, I want to garden, but I can't do all the bugs and everything. And eventually, they get over that. Like it becomes, you get over the fear, and then it just becomes it's just so interesting to see how everything acts in the environment that you created.
Yes, it really is. And that again too comes with another part of the fun of the garden space, which I'm sure is a lot of what you get to do too as well, because again, we're creating something we're really, you know, we can sit back and be proud of. Is we've got to take the time to actually sit back, right? And then just, you know, I've got a few different sitting spots throughout my different garden spaces where I can just kind of just chill and look and watch, you know what I mean, and see how things are going and watch the life that's you know, flying around and buzzing around, and really take that in, because that's another good part of the garden experience and lifestyle, right? It's just a chance to be able to sit and relax from the world right in this space that we've created.
And I'm really proud that over the last, it's been at least 2 years that I don't use any kind of pesticide, not even like diatomaceous earth or neem oil or anything. I don't use anything at all, because I've really just created this ecosystem that kind of takes care of itself. Of course, you're going to have problems with, you know, some things. There's just some things you cannot control. But, you know, overall, it's fairly easy.
Yeah. There's a few things I still like to use, and again too, I will say there's one thing I'll use and bust out every now and then, and that's our good friend, our sponsor of the show, ARE Organics. They have a really great, all natural, just natural oils, all that sort of stuff. A really good 3-in-1 plant guard that they do. So I'll break that out every now and then if it's getting to a point that I can't wash or squish off the bugs, because that's all I really want to do 90+% of the time throughout all of my garden spaces. I want it to be completely as natural as possible. And also, again, like you said, some things are just gonna you got to get in and you got to go to battle with them, and you got to go fight them, and you got to do what you got to do with them when it comes to that time. But for the most part, you should have a good, you know, IPM, as we always say, going.
Like, just because I do it, I don't use anything. I don't judge anybody else for doing it. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. What you got to do in your garden. I enjoy the challenge of. I don't use any pesticides, and I also don't use any fertilizer, store-bought fertilizer. So I just enjoy the challenge of just kind of being able to do everything naturally. Just the compost that I make at home, the rainwater that I collect. You know, I try to. The challenge for me to just do everything as naturally as possible. Yeah, I dig it, but it's not easy. So I don't judge anybody else for not doing it. You know, it's a lot of work.
Exactly, it is. It is, and natural implements. It's a similar thing for me too. It's just whatever I can bring in from my own spaces. I've still got some like organic dry fertilizer. I still got a bunch of this sort of stuff still I'm using through, and I don't have a problem with that. Like you said, and I don't have a problem with anybody using it, or I might for some other things down the road. But as I'm moving and changing things over this next year or two, all of our implements will eventually, that'll go away. You know what I mean? That's the last of the things I've got as far as things that come from the outside that we feed our plants. You know, it's our own compost. Vermicompost is a big one I got into this year. Have you tried worm farming yet?
I haven't. I really don't. I don't see any need for it, because my compost is so loaded with worms all the time.
That's good. That's
like
good.
So I don't really see any need for it. Plus adding something else.
Yeah. See, the thing is I do it. I like to have the worm castings. I use it in all of my different soil mixes that I use for to a certain level, but for the most part, and this is until we really get some of our really good composting systems working and going right with some of the other things that we're going to do. We're getting some chickens coming in soon, so hopefully we'll have some of that stuff breaking down in our compost and those sort of things that will in the long run just be like really super powered stuff. But right now I'm really seeing, and all I fed my garden last year was vermicompost tea that I brewed up from my own worms that I was growing, and that's all I fed my plants all last year, and everything did excellent. So
all I do so when I plant everything, I always I'll add a little to the beds, and I'll put a couple handfuls in the hole when I plant the plants. Then throughout the year, I'll just kind of top dress the beds and let the water, you know, take those nutrients down, and it's all I ever need. And I don't think people realize how much nutrients you get from using rainwater as well.
Oh yeah. So
that's a big part of it. Is the rainwater.
Collecting rainwater is a good one too. I've got a rainwater collection system. I wish I had more rain to collect though. That's my bigger problem.
We have no lack of it in Ohio this year.
It's been a problem.
It just warmed up. We've had about 5 normal days here, but it was been very cold, very wet spring, and it's been rough, but things are really starting to kind of bounce right now. So
yeah. It's poor. Sometimes I wish, again, too, we think about that as we all grow in different regions and everything too, is like, man, Jeremy, I wish I could trade you a little bit of weather, right? Don't you think we just trade it out a little bit, right? You can have a little bit of mine, I'll have a little bit of yours. Like my friend Adam was saying, he was just saying a little bit earlier, I didn't look at our most recent weather forecast, but we're possibly going to have 100 degrees tomorrow. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, we're in the 80s now, which is nice. We got the 60-degree nights, which is what we've really needed, because the previous week we were getting the 40s at night. It was tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything just kind of got stunted. But you can notice now, even within the last 5 days, how things are really starting to perk up and things are coming back. So I think it's going to start from here on out. I think it's going to really start taking off.
Yes, that soil temperature is kicking up, so those roots are loving it. And again too, this comes back down to exactly what you're doing with that soil though, right? With just utilizing this compost, or we're utilizing natural implements into our soil, is to build these microbes, these fungi, all of the little microorganisms, your nematodes, and all these sort of things that we need to just kind of kick up and start just growing and just multiplying, and just really, and that's what we're seeing again too, especially as the temperatures start to rise up, allows for all that activity to get going in our soil. So yeah, really awesome, huh?
Yeah. And that's what I do pretty much all raised beds, and that's one of the reasons I really like raised beds, is because I can start with the exactly what I want to start with. I can amend it. I know, exactly what's in my soil, from the beginning. And then in the raised beds, when you have this, unpredictable weather, that soil warms up a lot quicker. So you're not waiting for, everything to ground for that soil to warm up and get everything going. So that's why we kind of get a little jump here now that it warmed up. So.
Right on. So what all you got? You've been out busy planting right now, getting things planted out, or
everything's in.
Everything's pretty much in, that you're gonna get going for your summer season.
Yeah, I kind of missed out on the spring garden this year. I had got some stuff in, but I got it in late. We'll see how it does with this heat. I expect like some lettuce and stuff to bolt pretty quickly and that. But it's not a big deal. I'm going to be planting a really nice fall garden. So, but I didn't get my carrots in this year, which is disappointing. They'll go in the fall. But yeah, everything's in, and I'm
kind of in the same boat.
I'm sure I'm going to have to replace a few things because just the weather and stuff like that. Some things aren't looking great, but my tomatoes are really doing well. For the most part, things are doing good. And everything's in. So
that's good. All right. So, what are some of your favorite things to grow in the garden?
My main things are always tomatoes and peppers. That's like my two mains. Like those have to do good. Like, because that's the one. Because I, like I said, I do a lot of canning and preserving and stuff like that, and those are my main things for that. Cucumbers. I do a lot of pickles. One thing I love growing that I don't eat is loofah.
Oh, yeah.
I started growing that a couple years ago, and I really enjoy that. That's one of the coolest things in my garden is
Have you tried it though, as far as something?
Yeah, I never cooked with it. I've tried it. Yeah, it's kind of like a cross between
the young ones though, right?
Yeah, okay. It's kind of like a cross between a zucchini and a cucumber, both which I don't love raw. Right. So we just use them for the sponges, and we get tons of them. That's one of the coolest things in my garden is I built this giant bamboo arch for it, and once it's completely covered, it's probably 11 feet tall. Just this giant mountain of loofah. Lish has her hammock underneath of it, so it's cool.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's a really fun thing to grow. It's a lot of maintenance though, especially. I mean, for us, for some reason, loofah just does insane here. So it would take over my entire lot if I let it. So you got to maintain them.
Yes. Well, we have our good friend Bowtie Life in the Garden, David, your contributor for our Sunday show. He He grows loofah too and knows exactly what you're talking about when it comes to taking over. He had a couple of plants take over his whole garden last year.
Yeah, I prune them. I prune them very heavily once they cover the arch. I'm just cutting everything off at that point. But I still end up getting. I'd grow 2 plants. I get probably 30 to 40 usable loofah sponges out of it.
Yeah. And really fun to grow. I didn't start any this year. I did get some last year though too, and I still got some sponges left over from them. But I'll have to make sure I get some more this next year. But they are definitely fun, and I'm kind of with you. I didn't find them to be the flavor to be as I would still prefer a really good juicy cucumber, preferably, or other things. But definitely fun to grow when it comes down to it. I love the idea of that space you were talking about. But with your wife's hammock and all of that, and having
it's like
that would be like
it's
cool,
like the focal
space
point of the garden when that thing's in full.
Yeah, kind of going back to what I was saying, how cool have these when you have a chance to have a sitting space or something. But I don't really have a hammock space. That would be great. It would be really fun to be able to do that.
Yeah, and another cool thing about loofah is I haven't seen any pests that have any interest in loofah. Like it's completely maintenance free as far as pests go. Nothing.
That's pretty true.
Like you would think vine borers, no, squash bugs, no, nothing.
Wow.
So yeah, it's super easy as far as pests go.
That's another great reason to grow it. If you don't like things that have problems with pests, then that one will make a good one. But so what would be your least favorite thing to grow?
There's a few things that I've done. One, just for how difficult they are, would be pumpkins. I don't like growing anything that you have to deal with vine borers.
Right.
I'm not doing it anymore.
It really is the case for you folks who have to deal. I don't have to deal with them. A lot of other folks either,
awful.
But for the folks who do, that's the one pest. Like if you're a person or a gardener who has to deal with vine borers, that's the only pest you ever think about or ever concerned about or anything. The first one that comes to mind whenever you're talking about pests is the vine borers. They're awful. And I can.
When you're growing something like pumpkins, you're sitting there watching these pumpkins, get bigger and bigger, and you're getting super excited. You're going to have this great harvest. And then all of a sudden everything's done. Vine borers just, they'll burrow into not even just the pumpkins, or the vines, but the pumpkins themselves. They make one little hole. That whole pumpkin you've been waiting for all season is rotten. So it was just like such a disappointment last time we grew them. So I'm just.
Oh my gosh. Yes. No, I could totally feel that if it came to that sort of situation. The only thing I've really been given as far as the best advice, and I know there's probably some more technical strategies for vine borers out there that you could do, in management and trying to do that and take care of them and dealing with them in timing and stuff like that. But ultimately is variety. I mean, some varieties of pumpkins are just really, they're not as susceptible to other vine borers as other ones and stuff. So that seems to be some of the best advice I think I've been given, is to find varieties that are really resistant to those sort of pests when it comes down to it. But man, I feel for you when it comes down to that, because I really, as I was talking at the beginning of the show, talking about how I'm growing again another Dill Atlantic. I try to do some sort of feature pumpkin in our alleyway space. I've got this cool little outcrop from our back fence that we have, so it's kind of like as people walk through, it's kind of like a cool little feature pumpkin patch space. That's kind of cool there. So it's cool to have like a couple of different types of pumpkins. Like we grew, I think, Big Macs last year, which is like a big kind of like reddish looking bigger type of pumpkin, and just grow these cool little varieties of them. Every now and then I grow a big one, but this year I was like, okay, let's do the big one again, because I just had my first granddaughter this last year. It's actually going to be her first birthday coming up here in a couple
Congratulations.
of weeks. Yeah. So I was thinking, so this will be really her first like Halloween fall season in a way, So how cool would it be to get a big old pumpkin to take some pictures with and stuff. So that's the reason for the big pumpkin for sure. But yeah, I feel for you. If I couldn't grow those pumpkins, I would be so bummed out. I do got to deal with squash bugs though. And squash bugs are tough to deal with. They can get very populated. They can be a real problem.
We get them.
You don't get on top of
bad.
them. But if you, again, too, another one of those things where you're going back to the idea of like, well, pesticides or whatever, every now and then I'll go to work with them with that IV organic. Like I said, they're one of the ones I will get
I
on
feel
there,
like if you're growing pumpkins, you
get on that sort of stuff when it comes down to it. Yeah. But again, too, a lot of just trying to get the pressure or the break the cycle is kind of another one, you know. So early, like earliest signs of anything, any little babies that are crawling around or anything. I got this little handy vac. There's a little handy vac, and you get in there and just buzz them up. And go out there every day and just buzz them up. And if I can stay on top of it, I can usually keep the population down enough to where we've just kind of broke their their ability to keep going, you know. And,
well, I was doing
some years you
stuff
can't
like
do
that.
it. Some years you just can't do
like
it.
that. But eventually I'm just like, I can't do this every day. Like I can't. And eventually it just gets away from me and they take over and I'm like, But yeah, I replaced the pumpkins with the loofah, and the loofah are much easier. So
there you go.
Plus we have a lot more space because I grow the loofah vertically, and then I've got 5 more beds in there where I had that pumpkin patch. So
isn't that perfect then? Yeah, exactly. You know, do that vertical space, layer your garden the best you can when it comes to all of that, for sure. So ultimately, okay, so what are your biggest gardening challenges other than rain right now? I know you're getting inundated with all this rain, like you were saying, but what are some of these really big garden challenges for you there over, you know, in your Ohio garden?
So we're actually pretty lucky here in Ohio and 6B. We don't have, like, as far as like the weather and stuff goes, I feel like we're like, for growing like peppers and stuff, I feel like we're just perfect here. Everything thrives.
Right.
Not a huge pest problem unless you're doing something where the vine borers are going to be an issue. But with all the rain and stuff this year, pill bugs have gotten really bad, like almost an infestation. So that's my main issue now. But once the plants, you know, outgrow, you know, they can, once they get to a certain size, they can stand, you know, the pill bugs chewing on them. So, but that's, you know, just what we're waiting for now. After that, not a whole lot to worry about. You know, blight can be an issue if we get like real long periods of rain and stuff like that. But we got it pretty easy here compared to a lot of people, especially like a lot of my Southern gardener friends who are putting up shade cloths and stuff. Like, we don't have to do any of that stuff here.
That's true too. They get, and again, I suppose we all get certain advantages where we are. Some of the Southern gardeners, of course, you know, when we can't garden, we're watching them grow things and we're like, I wish I could do that right now myself. So they get some advantages sometimes, but definitely it's great to be able to have a garden space where you're not really limited to a lot of the real essential things that you would like to grow when it comes down to it, right?
Yeah. And there's something like loofahs can be a challenge here because it takes a long time. We got kind of a short season for it. So I'm always, you know, processing mine green. Yeah. But the only other thing that I really kind of am envious about people being able to grow is citrus. But other than that, we can do pretty much everything.
I'm envious that I know, and everybody keeps telling me I thought it would be this year, but I'm gonna probably push for next year. But I'm gonna try to challenge myself to get a couple of varieties that are gonna be a little more tolerant to some cooler weather. You can get some lemon varieties that'll do okay, and then take a little couple of overwintering strategies to help them out and stuff. But that was one of my first things I tried, was like, because I was like, oh, I want to do some container trees, and I was watching this one YouTuber who was, had lots of really great container trees, but of course he was growing in a area different than me and had could be far more successful at it. And so I got my first container citrus and had it growing, and I kept it alive through that first winter barely. And that second winter though, man, just because of how weak and everything and the strategy I was using that it got, the spider mites got too bad. The whole thing just totally succumbed and died out on me, and I couldn't do it. And I was like,
I've seen people take take them in the garage. They got heated garages and stuff. It seems like a lot of work to try
to it's about taking in the work
and to get them to actually produce well and everything like that. I don't know that I can dedicate.
Love citrus so much. It's just, I feel
I'd
like
like
it's
to
a
do it.
challenge I've got to try to meet at some level. I might not be able to grow all the types of varieties of citrus that I would ever like to do, but I would like to have at least maybe a Meyer lemon or something. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to be working on converting a garage into my new like seed starting like growing space.
There you go.
So once I get that done, maybe I'll try to do something there. So it'll be a lot easier for me because I can just put in some climate controlled for the winter and stuff like that. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
maybe at some point.
Yeah. You got to check out my friend Christopher Bransdahl. He's on YouTube. He's got a channel. I think it's just Christopher Bransdahl. They'll be on here in a few more weeks. He's a good friend of mine for years, but he grows up out of Norway, in the mountains of Norway, right? So he's got, you talk about a short season. His is like this, his is like this short. So he does a lot of really cool indoor gardening, and he's a real tech kind of guy too, and does some real cool stuff with indoor hydroponics and stuff like that, and has a really cool indoor garden space and all of that. But yeah, he's a real cool follow if you like any of that indoor type of growing stuff, or want to meet some sort of indoor growing challenges or something like that. He's a cool one to check out for sure. That and my other friend Kang Star too. He's another cool like hydroponics indoor type of altoid type gardener, and we get together for some cool roundtables every now and then. But yeah, it's fun to kind of meet those challenges with some indoor spaces as well too.
Yeah. Like I said, when I get this garage done, I may decide to start venturing into some of that kind of stuff. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it'd be cool. That would be really, really cool. I've got a few things I do and use indoors, you know, of course, you know, you can see all of this stuff growing, but I've got like a little light station, and I've got a couple other light stuff that I do, because probably similar as what you were saying earlier, my home throughout most of there's all plants and things going, and little starts, especially, well, most of the starts are outdoors now. We've moved them from indoors outdoors and gotten them outdoors, but during the wintertime, it's so full of things and lights on everywhere and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it can be real fun being able to utilize some indoor spaces, but you find yourself just as crowded and full of plants as you do in your outdoor spaces too. Right on, Jeremy. And okay, so real quick here too. You're growing and doing all that sort of stuff. We mentioned, again, you kind of got some public people watching and all that sort of stuff, looking at your gardens, you're talking and chatting with people. What was it in this gardening journey that made you decide, well, let's start a Instagram, let's start some social media and share this gardening space and my garden adventure with everybody? I mean, I remember kind of my moment, again, kind of goes back to sharing a little bit and talking with some people who were walking through the alleyway and being like, you know, this is really cool, you gotta, and I was kind of encouraged to share. I think I started my first a Facebook group or something because someone encouraged me to do that locally. So we did something locally here, and then I was like, a few months later, I was like, man, I watch all these YouTubers and they're just regular guys gardening and everything, so why can't I do it myself? And then that's kind of how it happened for me. But what was your kind of moment of like, I'm gonna put a camera on myself and I'm gonna get to social media and share this cool gardening experience and or lifestyle that I'm on now?
I do like I'm a very much like an outside of the box gardener. Like the way I do things, you know, isn't the same way a lot of people do them. I have a lot of like different ideas. Like I get very creative with how I grow stuff. I go do a lot of DIY projects in the garden and all that stuff. And I was always thinking like, you know, I've never seen anybody do anything like this before. Like there's no reason why I couldn't start sharing this and people, you know, might find it interesting. So during COVID, I was just messing around on TikTok. I'd make some random videos, nothing even garden related. Here and there, just because I was bored. And then we started this new garden, and I posted a video of us, you know, getting the garden started, like building the beds and stuff. And it got a lot of attention. And then the next video I did, I think got, back at that time, you know, I didn't have any followers. I didn't really have anything. And I got like 300,000 views on a TikTok. And I was like, holy cow, like this is like crazy, So I was like, and then, I started making the gardening videos, and I noticed that like people were really enjoying them. So I was like, and I was still just doing random stuff on it. And all I was doing was TikTok, and I was still doing random stuff on there. So I was like, I think it's time that I just dedicate this to gardening, because that seems to be what people are here for. And I did nothing but TikTok really for about probably the first year, I think.
Okay.
And then I went to Instagram, started posting there. And I think within 3 months, I was over 100,000 followers on Instagram.
That's right. That's awesome.
And then I went to Facebook, and within the first year, I was at like 300,000 followers on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So then I could keep moving. And now, really just like at the end of last year, in this year, now that you can do YouTube Shorts up to 3 minutes. Before I never posted on YouTube Shorts because nothing I was doing really was it was 60 seconds. Everything I was doing was over 60 seconds. So I really started posting on there a lot. So now I'm trying to start building that up. But I really enjoy it. I do.
Mm-hmm.
At first it was intimidating. I'm not like, of super social, like, I'm not into public speaking, stuff like that. It's not comfortable. Yeah. It doesn't come natural to me.
Yeah.
But, I look back on my first videos and I'm like, I cringe. It's like, why was anybody watching this? Like, it's so boring. Like, I was like, this is awful. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I got better and better at it, and I get way more comfortable with it. So, and I do enjoy doing it.
Yeah, because again, too, that really does gives us an opportunity to kind of explore another side of ourselves in a way too, and maybe something we never really thought we could reach into. For me, I just had some, I went to college. I was really, talk about timing though, too. I was in the late 90s going to college for newspapers. I wanted to be, a kind of like a journalist in a way, a photojournalist and journalist, and I wanted to get into newspapers. I just had this big thing for newspapers. I was a newspaper delivery boy when I was a kid, you know what I mean? Had the whole thing over and from my bike and all that sort of stuff, And so I just, I was like, oh man, I want to, be one of these guys who takes photos for these newspapers and everything. So I had some college background in, in that sort of stuff, and journalism and newspapers, and later on, just had this idea like, well, I would love to, if I do this, take on an idea. And the original idea was just to go and tell garden stories, but obviously I'm gonna have to start with telling my own, right? It's kind of how I was thinking. It was like all these other guys out on YouTube doing this sort of stuff. So just like you, I look back at some of those first videos. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. I still leave them up. They're there. Everybody could go back. I'm sure if Jay wants to, she could probably even put a link for everybody if you want to actually go and check out my very first video that I ever did. But yeah, I look back at that stuff and I was like, oh my gosh, look at that guy. He had no clue what he was doing, throwing a camera in front of him and just going after it though. Mine
are still on TikTok. Like probably the first year is only on TikTok. They're still on there. I get every once in a while I'll go back and look at them. I'm like, man, this is bad.
yeah. But that's a big part of it though too. Where at first maybe, and I would kind of cringe a little bit. I'd be like, I don't know if I want to do that, or I don't know if I want to share that or something. And after a while, you start getting used to things and you get a bit more comfortable, and then it's just like, oh, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like I said, everybody can go check out that first video. I cringe a little bit when I look at it, but I don't have a problem sharing that with everybody as well too, because again, that's a good part of the journey too, and it goes to show you kind of where we've come from.
And that's why I always tell people, like, because people are like, I'd like to, start posting and stuff like that, but like I'm just so uncomfortable, like I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not good at it. I'm like, go look at my first videos. Like I wasn't either. Like you just got to do it. You got to do it. You stick with it, and you'll eventually get it.
Yeah, and oh, there it is. Jay just did it. Thank you, Jay. 8 years ago, even. Oh my Lord.
Oh,
Jay.
8 years.
Oh
man.
Boy, what is the Urban Gardener? Am I really doing this? Episode 1. There you go.
I think
everybody.
my first
you all
would be
go
like
check
5
that
years
out.
ago.
Wait till after the show though. Go check that out. My very first video. Oh my gosh. Oh, Tony is in there from Simplify Gardening. He's in our chat right now too. He says, no one is good at it first. 18 years on and I'm still screwing it up, he says. 18 years ago too. I remember watching all those years back too, Tony. You have definitely come a long way yourself as well too, but it is a part of all of our fun.
18 years creating content?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Tony's one of the original YouTubers here. When we're talking about gardening and YouTubing and all of that, this guy's been doing it since way back. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a plan to start doing long YouTube videos, but I was like, I made a couple and I'm like, I just can't. It's one or the other. It's either the long YouTube videos or the, short vertical videos. I can't do both.
Right.
Because I was shooting the long horizontal YouTube videos, going back and doing the same thing in a vertical format. Like it was just too much. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, Tony says been on YouTube since 2007.
Wow.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, David says, oh my gosh, Edic, a whiteboard? Yeah, I had a whiteboard. I still got that whiteboard. I use it for something totally different now, but yeah, I know it was ridiculous. I'm telling you, it's so much fun. So much fun. I'm telling you, it's great. But yeah, again, too, like I said, I look back at that stuff is whatever. It's fun, but you know what? In the long run, it is our whole journey, and it is kind of what our opportunity is that we get to do with this sort of stuff. Is again, we get to discover a whole new part of ourselves. And again, another thing we get from gardening and how gardening really, for some of us who are taking that next step and sharing and doing this sort of stuff online, is getting that next bit of that next little bit more from our garden than what we didn't expect when we got started, right? Like I've always told people, if you would have told me even 8 years ago when I got this started, but even before all of that, 10 years ago, that I would have had a YouTube channel and I would be doing my own weekend talk show with all these gardeners from around the world and all that, I would have told you you're out of your mind and ridiculous, because there's just no way I would do something like that, put myself in front of a camera like that. That would be insane. But I did it.
I never would have expected I would have done it either. Actually, at first, when I first started getting a lot of views on my first videos, I actually talked to my wife and I was like, how about we just kind of make you the face of this. So you can do the talking, I'll do the stuff and whatever. Right. I was like so nervous about it. I was like, you're way better at talking. So yeah. I really didn't want to do it. I didn't think I could do it, but it ended up working out.
I really almost early on too, though, when I was thinking about doing the channel and everything, I was contemplating the idea of, but got kind of talked out of it, because I did reach out to a couple of people, a couple of channels I was following, and asked them some ideas and some advice of what they thought and everything. And each and every, I think I talked to like 3 or 4 different people, each and every one of them, all on their own, different from each other, told me the same thing. Basically was, if you're thinking about doing it, just do it. Don't plan ahead. Don't worry about this and that. Just pick up the camera, go find an editing thing, just start doing it, start publishing, just get out there and just get started. Every one of them told me that specifically. Yeah. But, the big thing was, was the idea of just overcoming the idea of being on camera. And I remember talking to them, was like, I think one of the things I want to do possibly would be is just do, not on face. Don't ever show just constantly just show the garden. And all you hear is my voice in the background kind of thing.
I was contemplating that as well.
and I got talked out of that as well too, because a lot of people are like, that's not what people want to see, and that's not what people come to social media for. People come to social media to connect with people. And if you're not going to be a person online, was what I got from people, was then you might as well not, in a sense. I mean, you might get some, it could, who knows, it could work. They told me it could work. But the point ultimately is to be out there, to be, share.
I mean, you could get an occasional,
if you're going to be doing this sort of thing.
You could get like an occasional viral video or something doing that, but you're not going to build a community.
Right. And really be able to make a connection.
To where people are, and that's the coolest thing. I think the reason I enjoy it so much is I really have I feel like I have a community of people, I know the people who are always commenting on my videos and stuff like that. So it's cool. But you wouldn't have that unless you make it personal.
Yep, and it was huge, and that was a big thing for me too, early on, and right off the bat too, my first year. I was coming at it from this perspective of not necessarily did I want to share my garden or myself and my journey, you know what I mean, and what I was doing. I really went into it as, and a lot of people, and I still explain this to Dave, to a lot of people about the name of the channel, The Urban Gardener. It's lowercase the, because I wanted it, because it's more of like a magazine, The Urban Gardener, not me, The Urban Gardener. I'm not The Urban Gardener, you know what I mean? And so that was the original idea, was I wanted to go and tell garden stories. I wanted to go and show gardens. I want to maybe interview people, do these sort of things, and do some garden journalism, ultimately, is what the main goal was. So, but I was talked into really, and for good though too, really, was to just share, just get out there, make the videos, put yourself out in front of that camera, just go do it, and go have fun on this garden adventure. And that's what one of them told me was go have fun on this garden adventure, and that's what I called it from that point on, my garden adventure. And
you eventually kind of find your groove, like you get your style and everything, and it feels natural, like you don't have to think about planning out a video and stuff like that. You just kind of go out there. I just go out and I'm like, okay, set it up, let's make a video.
Yeah. And I am too, like Tony just said here too, just press record. Yeah. And as well too, I'm still find my way, that's kind of still my way, as much as even Tony's kind of helped me out and talked with me about some things as far as planning videos and all that sort of stuff. I'm still like a just press record type of guy,
I don't plan anything. What I mean? Whatever I'm into in the garden that day is what I'm recording.
I'm trying, and I'm working on certain things. I got a pepper video series I'm doing, which is a bit more planned than I've usually done with anything. So I am stepping my toes in and trying to figure some of that stuff as what I believe should be my next best a step in doing this sort of media, you know what I mean? So I've got to kind of, in a way, eventually get there in some sense, but I still find it still just more comfortable to just press record and just kind of let whatever comes out come out, and then I'll just kind of, you know what I mean, make sure it says what I want it to say ultimately in the editing. Yeah. And Sherry says that too. That's what I've been hearing too. Just go start, do it. Because then in the long run, you don't know where it's going to take you. You don't know what you're going to do and how your life is going to change. And you just mentioned a big thing too, Jeremy, is the community that gets built up around us in these sort of things, that we're doing, and a big part of like this show and what we're doing here is trying to connect all of these communities together and show that we all are here in different places and meet each other and to get to know each other and to really build that larger garden community through what we're doing here and everything. But that's the real amazing part. Another thing you don't necessarily plan on when you start gardening is when you get to this point, now you got all this great community around you, people who really are care about what you're doing and love following along with the different projects going on in your garden spaces and stuff. That's a real fun kind of thing too, right?
Yeah. And I tell people also, like, if you're thinking about making content, even if it doesn't take off, it's having that there, because I'll still go back, a couple years, like, where was my garden at this point 2 years ago? So I can kind of compare and see, okay, are things doing how I think they should be doing right now? So if anything, it's just a great garden journal. Just kind of get out there and just document what you're doing for the day. And then it's nice to be able to go back and look at that, like, okay, were the birds still attacking my peppers at this point? Can I take my, protection off my peppers? Like, it's nice to have that. So if anything, just use it like a garden journal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we call our videos, or at least my regular videos is more of a garden journal. That's why we call it the garden journal, because it's more of a vlog type of style video. We're just going in to look at how things are growing, a little toury kind of aspect to it. I'm going to show you some work too. I'll do little time lapses and things to kind of have some fun with it and everything. But for the most part, really, I like the idea of the journal aspect of it too, because of I also like to be able to kind of go back and look at old gardens from seasons past and see where things were and how they're looking differently from time to time. And I suppose at some point in time, I will eventually someday be looking back at all of these things from years past and go, wow, those were some really great gardens and all that sort of stuff. So they are fun to be able to kind of keep that kind of, video track of what we're doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to start doing it, just start doing it, and you might get lucky. You never know. You never know what's going to happen if you don't do it, So.
Yeah. And luck runs in different levels too. You know what I mean? This is one of the things I always tell everybody too. I'm not, I'm having fun doing what I'm doing. I enjoy doing all of this sort of stuff. When it comes down to it, my channel is not a big channel out there, like some of the other big channels. I've got some cool, what I would call viral videos I've been lucky to have in some sense. But ultimately, it comes back down to what I've built here through this channel is a fun, enjoyable garden community that I can come and hang out with. It's a way for me to explore the larger community as well, to share stories, do what was originally my mission on another level, and do some of that sort of stuff, but yet again, building that larger community like we're ultimately trying to do. But again, where it's going to take you ultimately is a whole nother aspect, and it could be really fun. Again, I'm getting on these tangents here, Jeremy, and losing track of what I'm saying here. But anyways, real quick here, I want to talk about some things that are possibly coming up here. One of the things I have written down, I want to mention too, before we do finish up, you also have a community garden. We were talking about this earlier too with our previous guest. I love community gardens. Tell us a little bit kind of about what that's been like, kind of moving in and checking out this space and sort of the projects and things that you've been involved with here, getting over there into your community garden space.
So this was an existing community garden, and it was just existing. It wasn't getting much attention. It wasn't really a part of the community. And then probably about 2 years ago, Lish, my wife, and two of her friends took over a local organization, a nonprofit in town. And that community garden was a part of that.
Oh, okay.
So we decided that I was actually wanting to do more with it, but I was, you're already trying to manage your
channel it back a little. So
I had to kind of step back, but I'm just giving them guidance, on what they can do there. So they just really went in and kind of cleaned the place up, brightened it up. We got the bed, filled all the beds up, got grow bags everywhere. We're getting flowers in there. There was never any flowers or anything. You have a garden, you ain't got no flowers. So we're just really putting the community back into this space, trying to get people interested, trying people when they look at it like, wow, it's really nice. They had locks on the gates. You couldn't even get in there unless you had a key or a bed. It's opened up now. People can go in. There's picnic tables. They can go sit there, get a coffee across the street, bring it over, hang out in the garden. So hopefully, it's a work in progress, just kind of getting it started this year. But, I go down there when I can. We got a couple beds that I'm going to do. I got some stuff in one now, and then I'm going to do like a fall bed to teach people about direct sowing and fall planting and stuff like that. So got some plans for it. It's going to be cool, I think.
Yeah, because it's really great. And again, it's where I'm kind of coming around to, and some of my thought over this last year or two is I've been having fun doing all this stuff and getting to meet people, like I said, in this big, wider, larger garden community from around the world even, but really when it comes down to it, a lot of our best gardening and gardening influence and all of that sort of stuff could be in our local gardening community. And having good local gardening community. And it's kind of something I touched on in my most recent garden journal too, because my good friend Adam, who's in the audience here too, just lives right up the road from me, was able to help rescue me when I messed up some tomato starts I had this year. So he brought over some tomato starts he had extra. And so now I'm right on track with those and all of that too. But it just kind of goes to say how important it really is as gardeners that we're working and doing what we can on a local level to really build strong local gardening community. And that's why I love hearing about people who are involved with local gardening projects and community gardening projects, because you're taking some of this effort and fun and adventure you've learned online and built out in your social media and all that sort of stuff now to a level that you can really apply it locally and really have some great influence and build a great project that can really bring people together. And when you're hanging out with people, like when I go down to my community gardens and I get to hang out with all the gardeners out there and everything, it is so much fun to just really kind of be like, wow, this is great. All of us together, hanging out, talking about all of our interests. We can all hang. It's hard for us to break up at the end of the day too and go home and do things, because some of us are sitting there for a whole nother hour after we're done at our time for our meeting or whatever, you know, that sort of thing. But that's so rewarding.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and this year is really kind of just a focus on, you know, getting people interested, you know, people who drove by it a million times and never even paid any attention to it. Now, you know, you can't miss it. You got these bright yellow beds, everything, and people are kind of like, you know, hey, what's going on here? You know, hopefully, you know, next year we can really kind of make something happen with it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hopefully it does. And again, too, just like everything else that's been kind of working for you from the very beginning, from just a little pepper plant and a tomato plant, you know what I mean? And just moving on and rolling into this whole gardening lifestyle that you're on now, and then taking it to this whole next level, which I think is going to be the best, most fun part of everything that you do, no matter how big all of the dirty punk gardening and all that stuff gets. I think what you're going to find is those times that you get to spend locally, you know, in helping people out through your own garden space, through this community garden space, is probably going to be some of the most rewarding stuff that you get to do out of the whole garden adventure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Right on. Real quick here though, too, before I let you go here, Jeremy, just a really awesome conversation. First off, thank you so much for really, you know, taking the time to be here with us. I'm finally glad I got you nailed down to really dig out this great conversation with you. But it's so worth the time. It really always is whenever it comes down to it, and getting all of you wonderful guests to spend your time and hang out with us here. So again, thank you for doing that. I really do appreciate
No problem.
that.
I appreciate you having me
with all of us here too. But before we do let you go, again, similar like the intro, I'll let you kind of send us off here. Let us know a little bit more about Dirty Punk Gardening and what you might have coming up. You got any upcoming projects or anything like that, or maybe just a little bit of a last minute advice you want to leave everybody with here before we leave?
Well, as of right now, we got everything planted. We're just going to hope that everything really starts taking off and gets going right now. But this is kind of like, gives me a little bit of time to relax here until we get into harvesting and all that stuff. So I'm going to kind of enjoy that a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to get out there today, you know, do a few things. But yeah, not until we start harvesting. But there's going to be a lot of canning content coming up. Do a lot of cooking, all that kind of stuff. So,
man, seeing again too, another part of one of the things I wanted to talk. I'm just going to mention this real quick, just even if it takes a minute or so too, because another fun thing and something I've got to do a little bit more of. I was just talking with someone the other day about this and some ideas I'm thinking for some future stuff and all of that. But you really do, and I love it. You take the stuff that you're growing and you're really processing and preserving and trying and experimenting with different things. You've done some stuff with your garlic scapes recently, other things as well too. I'm constantly seeing you trying different stuff and all of that too.
Really got into fermenting last year, so that's going to be a big thing this year. I'm really comfortable with that. Fermenting hot sauces. I made some kimchi that was fantastic. So yeah, I'm excited to get into a lot more of that this year.
Right on. And of course too, sorry Sherry, again, I must have been somewhere again too. I really try to make sure I get all of the questions highlighted and all of that too, but I must have missed that earlier, Sherry, sorry. But she said, I'd still like to know how Jeremy chose the name Dirty Punk Gardener or gardening.
So
that's a good question. I should have started with that, huh, Sherry? Sorry, Jeremy.
Been a punk rocker my whole life, so that's where that comes from. And then the dirty, just, you know, out in the dirt in the garden. So, and Dirty Punk is a song from one of my favorite bands. So
yeah. You play any music yourself?
I don't. I was never any good at playing music.
Oh my God, I'm telling you. See, we're so similar. I'm telling you. I was a little punk too myself. I was, oh man, love music. And I'll tell you this, my whole dad's side of the family, all musicians. My grandmother is probably one of the greatest guitar players I've ever seen in my life. The way she could play a guitar was just amazing. Just awesome musicians, all that side of the family. Did not come down to me. I have no rhythm. I have no timing. I love music. I can sing along. I can do all whatever when it comes down to it. I just cannot put it into my own creation of music.
I tried to play guitar when I was young, but it just, I don't know. I don't have the coordination.
I got the guitars up there. I've told people before too. They're just really more for decoration and or in a sense that, I will and I do try, and I still try. I give myself more of a hard time when it comes down to it. I do try to learn some chords and some things, and I got a whole set up in the other room where I do try to play and all that sort of stuff. But it'll be a long time before anybody hears me play live because it's that bad. Right on, Jeremy. What a great conversation again, too. So awesome to be able to hang out with you today. And hopefully, again, too, we'll get to have you back on and dig into some more fun gardening with you and all of that as well, too. But awesome to have you today. And again, you have a great time in that garden. And we'll see you again later. All right. There we go. What an awesome, fun conversation with Jeremy Troski from the Dirty Punk Gardening on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all the social medias. We got some links right down below in the description, like I told you all before. Definitely go and click on those. Go and take a minute or two and go check out one of his most recent videos or posts and all that. Let him know that you saw him here on the Let's Get Growing show. Again, so fun to dig in and learn about all these great gardening stories and journeys from all these just really awesome gardening creators that we get to talk to each and every week here on the Let's Get Growing show. We've just been so fortunate again too, and lots of great shows coming up as well too for all of you here. We've got a great show. In fact, again too, we are here, like I always say, we are here every Saturday and Sunday. That's every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 p.m. British Summer Time for all of you over there in the UK as well too. And we're here every Saturday and Sunday talking to amazing guests, and that's going to be the same too. Tomorrow is for our Sunday edition of the show. It is now going to be the second Sunday of the month. The second Sunday of the month, and that means that we got coming. And actually, last month we didn't get to have him on the show with us, but this month he's back. Gardener Scott for Ask Gardener Scott is back with us again to answer all of your gardening questions for our Ask Gardener Scott show for our Sunday edition tomorrow. We'll have him back. He was on a great fun trip to the UK himself, so I'm sure we're gonna have plenty to talk with him about on all of those cool fun garden adventures he was on over there in the UK. So definitely come and join with us tomorrow for that conversation with Gardener Scott. And then again, next Saturday on the show, we've got coming back and joining with us. We always love to talk to our good friend, Farmer Greg Peterson from the Urban Farm Podcast will be with us. And we'll talk with Greg all about seed saving and all of that sort of stuff that we know he always loves to talk about. We'll dig right in with him, as well as we'll get to meet Gray from Urban Gardening with Gray. We'll get to meet with him and talk with him on our Are You Following Me segment for next Saturday's show. And then next Sunday is the third Sunday of the month. And every third Sunday of the month, we have our monthly gardening book club with our good friend MBC joining with us live. So we'll get to see MBC and catch up with him in the garden tomorrow. And then next Sunday, on the Sunday edition, he'll be with us live for the book club. And next book we are featuring for our book club is Christian Douglas's The Food Forward Garden. This is such a great book. So really photo forward of a book. Beautiful, beautiful gardens. Lots of great information on designing food forward landscapes and all of that sort of stuff. This is a great book. Really looking forward to catching up with our good friend NBC and getting to talk with Christian about his just really awesome, wonderful book. And again, you'll want to join with us for that book club. And stay with us till the end of the show too, so that you can hear all about our upcoming and our next book club for our July selection of the monthly gardening book club for our Sunday edition. So lots and lots going on, like I said, here on the show, lots to look forward to. So definitely subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hit that bell notification to be notified of all these upcoming live streams and videos. Again, like I said, we got garden journals coming out. Just released one yesterday, so you can all go check that out and check out what we've got growing on with all of our tomatoes and talking about Adam saving the day, as well as our pepper growing series that we're doing this year. We've got the ultimate pepper growing guide. We got a couple of more of those videos coming out this next week as well too. Hit that thumbs up, click the like button if you haven't already, and share with all of your garden friends. Follow all of the links down below. And again, thank you all so much for being here today. It was so great to have this hangout with all of you and spend the last couple of hours. And I look forward to seeing all of you for tomorrow's Sunday edition with Gardener Scott. So of course, we'll see all of you then.